Money Vikings, Money Viking G here. I got a really good one for you today as the world order sort of falls apart before our very eyes when we are in the midst of the tariff war. The tariff war is in full force and effect, and I imagine in the coming weeks and months that we will all start to feel the effects and the pressure from that. Depending on what happens. So I want to talk about 5 things that I'm doing from a middle class perspective to try and survive, preserve wealth, even maybe grow wealth a little bit during a tariff war situation. Now, we do nothing about a political show. This is a show about personal finance and investing, and so that's completely what we are focused on. And I understand that there's I want to talk about this though in advance. There's 2 basic arguments and sides to this debate. And the issue is that only time will tell which scenario plays out. And it might not even play out as clear as we all think. So there's one side of the coin that says, so tariffs have historically not really worked from the research I've seen. But the idea seems to be in this case that if you basically put all these tariffs on all the imports in the United States, that manufacturing will have a renaissance in the United States. I question that theory because manufacturing, number one, is a lot of robotics and a lot of AI. And in addition to that, manufacturing was growing, I believe, in the United States. So, we did see a return of manufacturing. So we're in the midst of something. There's another part of this debate that's kind of strange. And I would say from a middle class personal finance and wealth building perspective to basically just get that out of your mind. So some people call it a tax. Other people call it a tariff. There's all these different words for it. Some people say it's inflation. It's inflationary. It's a tax. It's a tariff. It's a blah, 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 blah. The brass tacks of the whole thing is that for the average person just buying things in their normal life, the prices of those things are going to go up with this massive amount of tariff wars and the reciprocal tariffs. So everything now is being taxed by the government as it basically crosses borders. And, companies are not going to, if they made a t-shirt for $10 and they would sell it for $12, if they're making a t-shirt for $10 and they're charged $2 as a tariff or a tax or whatever you want to call it as they enter the marketplace, they're not going to sell it for $12. They're not going to make $0. They're going to sell it for $14, So you multiply that times probably literally billions of purchases, at least hundreds of millions, and you might get into a situation that's pretty sticky. So time will tell how this plays out. We'll see. There's now talk of recession, of course. There's talk of stagflation. Stagflation is when there's inflation, but the economy isn't growing, and asset prices are down. So I don't know. Time will tell. But the point is, I want to focus in on 5 things you and I can do, because a lot of us just don't have control of all this. We're not in control. So basically, we have to just adjust to whatever we see happening. So here's the deal. The first one I want to talk about is staying calm. So basically doing nothing. We have a situation where the stock market is highly volatile. It's now dropped quite a bit. This is probably the worst time to sell, right? And I've seen this time and time again over 25 years of investing experience, that when people sell in these panic times, it usually has the worst outcome in the long run. So in a lot of ways, I'm going to do nothing. I'm just going to stay the course. If you watched my Money Vikings, or if you went to our blog, truewealth.moneyvikings.com, or if you followed us for any amount of time, you know that for years, Jerry and I have been talking about strategic diversified portfolios. And that's exactly what these are built for. Now, it's a little bit hard to avoid all the damage of like a tariff a world war tariff, basically World War World War tariff, a tariff world war. It's hard to find cover. But if you are diversified, there's probably going to be things that are going to be okay and stay a little more balanced. And then there's things that are just going to get clobbered. So that's number one. Do nothing, stay calm. Number two, a little bit the opposite of my advice, but it's just nibbling at the edges. You know, maybe it is time to look at some more defensive sectors. Gold, defense, Bitcoin, consumer staples, healthcare, energy, some of those things come to mind. I still don't think any of those are immune to a massive sort of recession and trade war, but at the same time, probably good to have a little bit of that in the portfolio. That's what I do. And again, not making any major changes, but it's good to have some. The third thing I want to talk about are the inflation defense systems. So this is continuing to buy in bulk, continuing to cut back on expenses if you can, and just continuing to be mindful of your spending and find value in your spending it is critical at times like this. So continue the inflation defense systems. Number four is related. I personally would not do any major purchases right now. I certainly wouldn't do any major purchases if I had debt. So if I was dealing with an overhang of some credit card debt or other debt, besides like maybe on a rental property, that's fine. That'll probably be fine. But if I was dealing with other kinds of debt, I would not want to be over leveraged right now and be leveraging myself more. And I wouldn't want to be making a major purchase I could not afford with cash. If you can afford it with cash, that's a different story, and you need it. I think that's a different story, but I wouldn't want to be adding to the debt. The fifth one I'll leave you with is this. We really do have to focus on gratitude. We should be great. We should have gratitude for the blessings we have in our lives. Many of you probably have a lot of blessings like me, and we take them for granted. And a lot of times if we focus on gratitude, we then sort of want less, we crave for less, and we're not going to go out and overspend or whatnot in sort of more of a precarious time. So with that, I hope those help you. Those are 5 things I'm doing as we deal with the trade war. And best wishes to you. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.